hope you're doing well. So the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is out for about almost 6 months now, and the Note 20 Ultra is almost there, or it might already be out there, depends on when you're watching this video. So how does this phone hold up, and do you think after all those software updates, has it really been improved? Do you think all those discounts really make this phone worth it right now? And just maybe you can ditch the Note 20 Ultra. So without wasting any further time, let's find out. So when a new phone with new hardware and new features comes out, it usually faces a lot of criticism. And it isn't so smooth at launch, especially with the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. This has been mainly with its price and its wrongly marketed features. When you put out a phone that is damn expensive and has features like autofocus, a less efficient processor, and the camera glass breaking, people will complain. But usually smartphone manufacturing companies get over this. And from Samsung, this has been mainly with its software updates every month. So did it work? We'll find out. Now let's talk about the build and the design. Well, this is a massive phone, and it's so big that people at first were worried that it might slip out of their pockets, and it hardly fits in my jeans pockets. So this is something that people would definitely need to get used to. Carrying this phone around can sometimes feel like you're carrying a massive accessory, but after 6 months I have gotten used to it. I have been using this phone as my daily driver, and I have just learned to handle it. When it comes to cases, I'm using a ring case which has a metal ring on the back. So it becomes easier to hold your phone at night while watching Netflix and YouTube. Otherwise, because of the weight of the phone, holding the phone at night like this can really go difficult on your hands. Even though the weight distribution of the phone is done really well, the actual weight of the device, I wish it could have been a little less, because holding the phone for a longer periods of time can sometimes be a pain. Now let's talk about that screen. Samsung phones have always been on top for their screens. The screen qualities have always been that good, and the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is no exception. With that massive 6.9-inch display and that 120Hz refresh rate, it really makes a great package. Especially after the July update, that 120Hz refresh rate has started to show some MEMC-like feature, which is basically motion estimation and motion compensation. Well, this is not official by Samsung, but many people are noticing it and also reporting it. So while watching movies on Netflix, you might notice that even old movies are boosted to up like 60 frames per second. So the viewing experience becomes more smoother. At first, honestly, I wasn't that excited with the 120Hz refresh rate, but after using it for such a long time, now going back to 60Hz, I do really notice it. Paired with that dual speakers, I must say that the viewing experience that this phone provides is really awesome. Yes, the speakers do have a lot of treble, and they're not that bassy as that of the iPhones, but still they get pretty loud. Now let's talk about the biometrics. Man, getting into this phone can be really a pain sometimes. The fingerprint scanner isn't just slow, but it really takes long to recognize your fingerprint, and sometimes it does not even recognize it. I have tried registering my fingerprint multiple times, but still sometimes I really face difficulties getting into this phone, and even that face recognition does not work all the time. So I find myself going back to that pattern unlock. Now let's talk about performance. Exynos 990. Well, honestly, I have gotten used to it. It does my day-to-day tasks really well, including video editing and photo editing. And also, games are fine. Yes, there are some stutters, but that game booster really works well. Well, I do have some complaints with the Exynos, but all of them are related to the camera, which we'll talk about in a bit. Let's first talk about the battery. Thank you Samsung for putting a 5000 mAh battery into this phone, and also mainly providing a 25 watt super fast charger inside the box. I'm so glad that that is there, because all of this battery confidence that I'm having comes from that super fast charger. Yes, with the 120Hz mode on, I can easily get through the day, and usually by the end of the day, I usually have 25 to 30% battery left, and I can get to the next morning as well. The standby battery drain that is there, yes, that is noticeable. Sometimes it drains to about 10% just in the night. But usually I have noticed that by the next morning, I have 14% battery left, and that is fine for me. So if you do believe in screen on time, then I would say that would be around 5 to 6 hours, and you definitely get more than that if you turn on the 60Hz refresh rate mode on. Well, going back to my old videos, I have said it that the 60Hz mode on this phone feels a little laggier than other phones, and I think Samsung has addressed it a bit in the latest software update. Now 60Hz also feel a bit smoother. Now let's talk about the cameras. This phone has always been hyped for its cameras. From positively marketed features to negatively criticized issues, all of them have been centered around these cameras. And monthly there have been software updates focused mainly on the improvements of the camera. So have they made any difference? Well, I have made a lot of videos and camera tests, so make sure you check them out. I'll put them somewhere in the cards above. You will get a really great idea on how these cameras work now and whether the issues that this super expensive camera came with are actually addressed or not. So let's talk about the front camera first. The front camera has gotten better, but due to its 2.2 aperture, low light selfies are not that good. And on the night mode on the front camera hasn't been improved that well. It has this weird effect that it makes on your face and makes it more darker. Maybe it wants to make it look realistic, but it does not look good. And I'm glad that f2.2 aperture made way for that smaller punch hole, but then I really wish low light selfies was better on this phone. Now I'm not a big selfie taker, but this camera does not do anything to actually encourage me to take more selfies. Let's switch to the back cameras now, which are the main highlight of this phone. That 108 megapixel sensor is a true example of how important software processing is. I still don't use the 108 megapixel mode because of the processing that it compromises on for that megapixel count. It's just not worth it. But I'm so happy with the 12 megapixel binned images, and low light images have very less noise. The shallow depth of field does need some getting used to, especially with macro shots, but that is where the zoom lens comes in. You can usually take good macro shots with the 2x zoom, and after those software updates, I must say I'm really impressed with the zoom. I'm not talking about the 100x zoom, I'm talking about the 5x and the 10x zoom. The zoom image processing that is there, that is really great, and it really gives a different perspective to your images. The 100x zoom has gotten more stable, and it also takes photos with less noise now, but the zoom transitions have become very laggier. It really stutters when you switch between different zoom modes. Now let's talk about the video capabilities. That autofocus issue. Well, the autofocus has definitely improved. The transitions are much smoother now, and there is a lot less focus hunting now. But especially in low light, if you lock focus on a subject, the background blur that is there, that keeps pulsating. So it does not look that good in the final output. That 8K video is actually better than I expected. I mean, the difference between 8K and 4K is actually noticeable even on this display of the phone. But do know that the 24 FPS that is there for this 8K does need some getting used to, and I mean this especially if you're panning the camera a lot. Because of the low frame rate, there might be some stutters, so you need to learn how to pan the camera slowly. And also, with the video stabilization on, and by the stabilization I don't mean the super steady mode, I mean the video stabilization mode that is there in the camera settings. If you keep that on, the 8K does stutter a bit, and you might lose some footage. So better to keep that video stabilization off, but then stabilization is also very important. So make sure you use a gimbal or a tripod. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you're editing 8K videos, then you need to scale them down to 4K from your phone. Because editing 8K on this phone, I might say it is actually very fast, but all of us might not have a high-end laptop. Especially on my laptop, small 8K videos do just fine, but if I have to work with large 8K files, then my laptop hangs a lot. So downscaling from 8K to 4K is very useful in this phone, because if your laptop does not have a high configuration, then I'm sorry. Also, I mentioned many other issues with the camera of this phone in my other videos, so make sure to check them out. One of them is slow video record starting. So what happens is, if you start the video recording, it does show that it has started recording. Like it shows 1 second, 2 seconds, but that 1 second that it records, it loses it. Maybe this is because of that Exynos processor, but this is something I have also noticed when you switch between the back and the front camera. It loses that half to 1 second footage. So make sure you are aware of that, because the Exynos 990 does seem to be a little inferior compared to other processors to perform such heavy tasks. So let's get to the conclusion. Is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra comparable to the Note 20 Ultra? Well, the Note 20 Ultra is just having an extra sensor to fix that autofocus issue. But do keep in mind that the 180 megapixel sensor is the same sensor, and the autofocus has already been improved quite considerably in the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. So I'm curious to test out how much of a difference that extra sensor would make. Of course, it's an optical sensor, so it should make a lot of difference, but we need to test out and see. The Note 20 Ultra would also be coming with an LTPO display, which would actually be a variable refresh rate display. So it would vary from 1 Hz to 120 Hz. So this is supposed to make the battery last more longer. But on this constant 120 Hz refresh rate display of the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, I have no complaints with the battery life. So we need to test out and see if it will be a radical difference with that LTPO display. So apart from getting the S Pen, the Note 20 Ultra does not seem to be that much of a big leap from the S20 Ultra. And also the price of the S20 Ultra would drop. So if you don't need that S Pen that much, then I think the S20 Ultra is a really great deal, if not better. So that's it guys. I hope you like this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and also let me know if you have any suggestions in the comment section. I'll be making more such videos, so make sure to stay tuned. Till that time, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.